Summary.
Waking up to what she thinks is another of her common lucid dreams, Mindy goes along with the large, bronze, alien male that has invaded her bedroom, following him through his portal to his spaceship. It doesn't take Mindy long to understand the planet she has been taken to as a UI mate is not a dream at all, and her hot, alien intended who resides there will do anything to convince her to stay.
Lucid dream.
Waking up to a rumble, Mindy's eyes shot open, the bright light encompassing her room blinding them back shut. Who's there? She tried her hardest to sound tough, like someone you shouldn't mess with, but her heart's racing was attempting to give her away, pounding loud and hard in her ears as the rumbling finally stopped. Carefully peeking out of her right eye, she could see that it was much more tolerable to look, still lit up more than 3 a.m. should be, but not blinding. Opening both eyes and scanning the room, she saw nothing out of the ordinary, except a few things that had fallen from her desk in the shuffle of everything. Her 2 windows, however, were lit up, whatever was hovering right outside them lighting up her whole room with a yellow glow. "Mindy Halton, please step to the window." The voice rang out from a loudspeaker of sorts, and Mindy knew there was no way her roommate hadn't heard that. Ginny would come running to help at any minute. "Right. We would not want to scare you by coming in to see you, if you could open the window, so we may speak with you, Mindy Halton." The voice was staticky sounding, yet the way the words were spoken made it seem as if English was not their first language. Mindy waited another minute, the only sound in her room being a light humming that was coming from what she guessed was some sort of helicopter or plane hovering outside her window. She couldn't quite make out what it was with the light shining in. "We will come to you, Mindy. Please do not be afraid. We come in peace." Mindy's ears perked up and her eyes stared more intently at the mass outside her window. She pondered hard on what they could possibly have meant by them coming in peace. Maybe they were from another country or something. She felt so baffled and scared, waiting for the sound of crashing glass that would most likely happen at any moment. Suddenly, a strange sound, almost whooshing in nature, emanated from in front of her. A ball of light appeared, small at first, and slowly growing, the whooshing sound getting stronger as the light grew, eventually so large it touched from ceiling to floor. The large oval burnt with yellow light for a few seconds before a bronze-colored leg, with a very odd-looking sandal foot covering, popped out of it, startling Mindy. Grabbing her nearest stuffed animal, Goopy Giraffe, to muffle her screams of terror, she watched as an at least 7 feet tall, bronze-colored being emerged completely from, what she now guessed was, a portal. Portal to where, she could only imagine. Taking in the large person in front of her, Mindy could see he was not like any man she had ever seen, and she started to realize she was most likely dreaming. His skin was so bronze it shone slightly in the light of her room, and his eyes are a deep purple color that pierced Mindy's soul as he took her in an equal fascination. He had 2 small, curved horns on either side of his head, and they were white with slightly beige tips. His eyebrows were thick and black, his hair the same, falling to just below his broad, bare shoulders. The tank top-looking armor he wore did a phenomenal job at showing off his rippling muscles. His face was so handsome that he ended up having to repeat his first words to her, as she was too busy studying its chiseled lines. "Hello, Mindy, can you hear my voice?" "Oh, yes, what are you doing in my room, in the middle of the night at that?" Mindy was surprised she felt so calm in the hulking male's presence, considering he was pretty intimidating in the way he carried himself. "I have been sent here, among other places, to collect all the UI mates that I can find with our newly approved technology. I am instructed to bring you with me to the planet Nulamore, where you will be matched with your UI mate. It is an honor." Crossing one arm over his chest as some sort of salute, he stared at her expectantly in silence. Mindy's only reaction was to laugh and rub her eyes, willing this dream to take its course so she could go back to her boring life of Taco Bell manager by day and karaoke singer by night. "I am glad you are happy at the prospect. Shall we head out?" Mindy was now convinced this was a dream, taking the outstretched hand of the alien in front of her. Yet sure, why the hell not, let's see where this one goes. Mindy had always had very lucid dreams from a young age, and decided tonight she would just go along with it. "Wonderful. You will feel a slight tingling sensation over your entire body as you step into the light. Do not worry, it is just the transporter doing its job. Very safe." Before Mindy could even think of a good response to the non-safe way he sounded saying very safe, she was pulled into the portal. The tingling sensation she had been warned about started immediately, almost like your foot waking up from being dead asleep. It was slightly uncomfortable, but not too terrible. She gripped the alien hand that pulled her, his rough, strong grip the only reassurance she had that she would come out the other side. Walking out of the portal, Mindy was overwhelmed by how foreign everything was. There was not one thing inside the ship that she could recognize, everything alien, including the 5 beings that were starting to crowd around her and her alien dream guide. "She has agreed to come back with us." A cheer broke out from all the aliens, which looked eerily similar in size and bronze color to the one who had fetched her. The only differences she could see were the varying shades of their purple eyes and the way their horns looked, some smaller, some bigger, one not having any horns at all. As Mindy walked around brazenly touching and taking in all the strange gadgets and lights that surrounded the ship, she marveled at how elaborate her dreams were becoming, resolving to write a book after this one. Looking back to the huddled group of aliens, Mindy jumped when one stuck out their tongue, licking their upper cheek with the longest, split all the way down the middle, snake tongue she had ever seen. Another thing that was very different from humans. Mindy Halton. Mindy closed her mouth and tore her stare from the alien's tongue that was still out and just lazily wandering around their face. Just Mindy is fine. Mindy, we must all be put into the KIP machines before we can start our journey back home. Judging by the Earth technology I have seen so far, you have not reached this level of machinery yet, and may therefore be slightly stressed by the unfamiliar sight of it. I'm sure I'll be fine. Mindy knew if this was real life, she would not be fine, but knowing it was just too ridiculous to be anything but a dream, she had a sense of adventure and daring promoting her decisions. If you would follow me. The alien with lighter purple eyes and no horns held out his hand, and Mindy grabbed it, is much softer than the others as he dragged her towards a wall that opened sideways once they were within 3 feet of it. Inside the adjourning room it was much emptier, the walls and ceiling full of lights and wires that led down to 8 bath-looking contraptions spread in 2 lines of 4 on the floor. They were filled with a light blue gel-type substance, and Mindy watched as a few of the aliens sunk into it, face and all, hooking up their arms to the cords running into the gel. These are helpful to save us from the radiation effects of traveling such long distances in such a short time period. Like warp speed. I do not know this warp speed, but it is a speed much faster than any recorded, or even possible, by man. Very Star Trek of you guys. While I do not know of Star Trek, if it is making this easier for you to understand, then yes. Mindy giggled, stepping over to the closest goo-filled tub and touching it with her right hand. It was a nice warm temperature, and Mindy wasn't sure if she preferred it that way or cold, as neither sounded particularly appealing when knowing you had to submerge yourself in it. She climbed in, the feeling of the gel almost like settling into a thick warm mud puddle as it squished between her toes and all around her body. Her head stayed above as she watched the alien hook her up to the thick, black wires with large suction cups at the bottom, attaching them to her submerged skin in various places. All set, Mindy, you should start feeling sleepy very. Mindy didn't hear the rest of the alien's words as her brain fogged over hazily, pleasure shooting through her body as her head fell back into the goo, nestling slowly in the thick liquid as she fell fast asleep.
It's real.
Mindy, can you hear me? Mindy felt groggy, her eyelids too heavy to open, her ears hearing someone calling her name, but not registering much else. Humans take much longer to wake from KIP sleep, give her a moment you-har. She looked like she might be dead for a moment. That's how all humans look when they sleep. I dunno, some toss and turn, my cousin said. Mindy groaned, causing an anticipatory silence to blanket the room. Opening her eyes, she could at first only make out 4 large blobs, but as her eyes cleared with each blink, she could see the shining bronze males that stood crowding her. Looking down, she realized she was on some sort of medical bed, and the room itself looked like a medical bay from Star Trek, causing Mindy's memory of her dream the night before to rush back into her mind. Wait, am I still dreaming? Mindy's heart raced as she took in everything around her. The smell of the sexy aliens in front of her threw her off slightly, as it was like cedar and vanilla, but different at the same time. A smell she'd never smelt before, but loved as it wafted into her nostrils. Mindy couldn't believe how long this dream was lasting, and she was slightly impressed, especially as it was much more real than any she'd ever had. We are just approaching the docks of 𝒂𝒚𝒍𝒂𝒚. The noise over the loudspeaker was a crackly reminder of the events from Mindy's bedroom, and she wondered for a second if all this might possibly be real. Resolving that her anxiety would never be able to handle it being real, plus the fact that there was no such thing as aliens, Mindy felt confident again. I thought the planet was called 𝑁𝒂𝒻𝒄𝒄 or something like that. 𝑁𝒂𝒻𝒄𝒄. It is the planet name, but there are many docking stations located throughout our small planet, the main one being the docks of 𝒂𝒚𝒍𝒂𝒚. So, what's so great about this dock in particular? Mindy felt silly asking questions when she had no idea what she was really talking about, but also wanted as much information as possible for when she woke up and started her book. Well, the docks of 𝒂𝒚𝒍𝒂𝒚 are special because they are where the 𝑈I-mate matcher is located. You will be matched most likely within the hour, and I know for a fact we are all waiting in anticipation to see which 𝑈I-mate is matched with the first human. What does this 𝑈I-mate machine look like? You will see very soon, Mindy. Okay, cool. So, I just follow you then. Mindy proceeded to follow the 4 large aliens as they walked through a corridor to the waiting ramp staircase leading out of the ship. With every step Mindy took, her brain woke up more and more, and as she took in the completely foreign sights and smells of the bustling futuristic city in front of her, she realized in that moment, it was not a dream. Oh, fuck me. Pardon. Mindy looked up anxiously at the alien with no horns from earlier who now had a look of excited confusion on his face. This isn't a dream, is it? A dream. If you mean a series of thoughts, images, and sensations occurring in a person's mind during sleep, then no. If you mean a cherished aspiration, ambition, or ideal, then I would say yes, to some extent. I meant the former. Mindy's response was light, as her mind was in a new type of daze, the new world's foreign sensations overwhelming her senses with new stimulations from every angle. Trying hard to remember all the information she had so far on this new place and people, Mindy knew she was stuck. Her heart raced at how stupid she felt, with her mind trying to justify her reasons for following strange alien men right out of the comfort of her bedroom to some random other place. She was lucky she hadn't been murdered, or eaten, or enslaved, or worse. Well, so far. This way, Mindy. Following, Mindy contemplated what she should do. She could ask them to bring her home. They seemed nice, but they could just be nice because she had gone along with things so well. For now, she decided to keep following, to take in everything she could for possible future escape attempts. When it came down to it, she felt much braver than she would have anticipated being faced with something as monumental as this. Moving down a long walkway, they headed towards a nearby 4-storied building that was shaped almost like a black, tiered cake, as each level up was smaller than the one below it. The front double doors opened automatically, and the temperature inside was slightly cooler, with a smell of cleanliness, almost like fresh laundry. Mindy was led into what was likely the main lobby of the building by the looks of the very different, but somewhat obvious furniture pieces. Mindy guessed they were couches, though the seat parts were 5 circles stuck together side by side, with the back a tall curving backwards dramatic piece that looked soft and comfortable with its pearl-colored, velvety-looking fabric. The room was very comforting, and Mindy felt her body start to relax. She wondered if the smell in the room had anything to do with how relaxed her body was starting to feel. Before she could attempt to try out the soft couches in front of her, the wall on the left side opened, another bronze god, this time with a lab coat of sorts, walking out to greet them. "Hello, Mindy Halton. I see you have arrived safe and sound." "Yes, thank you." Mindy wasn't sure what else to say in response, as the alien was having the same effect on her that all the others did, her heart starting to race and her groin starting to tingle. "The machine is all warmed up and ready to be used. We are so excited to see the outcome of the machine used on a human." The way he said his words and looked at Mindy made her think that she now knew how a lab rat felt. "Is it safe?" "Oh, yes, perfectly. The first prototype was a disaster, but this one is so much more promising." His words did nothing to reassure Mindy as she frantically looked around the room, looking for her chance to run, even if it was just to hide somewhere. The idea of being someone's guinea pig was too much. "Please, do not be afraid, nothing will happen. We would not have flown you so far and used so much time and energy to risk killing you." Mindy was once again surrounded by hot alien men. The combination of the smell of the room and of the aliens intoxicated her mind slightly, her legs starting to move and follow the one beckoning to her with a mind of their own. "Perfect, this way." Walking into a somehow taller, yet smaller round room, Mindy's eyes shot straight to the middle where a shiny, egg-shaped machine stood maybe 15 feet tall from the ground. Strolling right over to it, the scientist alien pressed an invisible button, causing the front to open. Inside it was empty save 2 large screens, one on the wall directly in the back, and one that stood out from the wall about a foot lower and to the right. "If you could just step right on in here, we can finally make history." It's no secret that everyone on the planet is excited to see who the first UI mate with a human will be. Mindy's heart raced as she looked around at the smiling, handsome faces. She didn't know if it was the lack of sleep, the smells, or the fact that she was really curious, but she stepped inside. The door closed behind her as the screen in front of her lit up, instructing her to put her right hand palm down on the other, lower screen. "Well, here goes nothing."
Mindy's mate.
Mindy felt tingles go through her hand as she stared transfixed at the intricate patterns dancing across the screen in front of her. She was so entranced she didn't notice how enclosed she was, and that 30 minutes had already gone past by the time they opened the door back up behind her. As the door opened, the screen shut off, causing her to blink hard as she was brought back to reality. She felt as if she had just had the best sleep of her life, and her hand felt slightly tingly as she stepped out of the machine. The result will be broadcast for all to see. It should take only minutes now as the machine uses her UI mate, DNA-specific pheromones to search through the birth records. Her mate will be undisputable. Mindy looked at the scientist alien as he talked to a small floating orb that was most likely recording and transmitting to a world of bronze muscle people. Mindy quickly ran her fingers through her hair, looking down at her pineapple pajama bottoms and double-layered, hot pink tank tops in embarrassment for herself. She felt more and more as if she was tumbling down a hill she herself started rolling on, not realizing it was real. Now that she was rolling on it, she was picking up speed with every turn, unable to stop or slow down the strange happenings around her. "It has been decided. UI mate in question is 𝐻𝐿 Pertron." The aliens in the room gasped as the name was read. "And there you have it. Have a wonderful day." The scientist was obviously shaken as he ended the stream abruptly and looked at Mindy in fascination, more so than he had originally. "Are you kidding me?" The alien with no horns spoke, his voice louder and annoyed. The one male on the entire planet that was adamant about not wanting to be mated, the only one that really tried to convince the Council of 4 that they should throw out this whole project. He gets to be the first human UI mate. Mindy wasn't sure who this 𝐻𝐮𝐫 person was, but she knew there was no way she was going to stay long enough for him to change his views on mating and try to 𝑦𝒓𝒐𝒏, or whatever, with her. I actually need to get going anyway. I have an early shift tomorrow morning, and all this excitement had really gone to my head. I thought for sure this was all a dream when I first followed you out of my room, so you can bet how surprised I am to figure this all out now. Maybe you could just give me a lift back home. They all looked at her like she was a crazy person, which, in hindsight, she kind of was. I mean, this crayon guy doesn't sound like he even likes the idea of mating anyway, so I might as well just head on back to Earth. You should be my mate instead. You cannot take someone's 𝑦𝒓𝒐𝒏, you know the laws. But what if the intended doesn't even want them? Mindy threw up her hand to silence everyone, feeling more desperate by the minute to get home. I really just want to go home, I'm sorry. I had not thought this was real, or that I would be mated with anyone, and now that I see this is all real, I feel terrible that I let everything get this far. I need someone to take me back. While it is ultimately your choice to return, it will take us 2 days to cool and recharge the ship for travel, not to mention refilling the supplies. You must at least meet your intended before anyone says or does anything rash. We owe it to the love and hope of 𝑦𝒓𝒐𝒏s everywhere. You just want to know if your machine worked. The hornless alien spoke defeatedly, showing he was accepting the scientist's ruling on the matter. Well, yes, that too. I know 𝐻𝐮 had to have heard the announcement. I would give anything to have seen his face when he heard it though. He probably peed himself. He probably growled his angry growl and ran to tell 𝐻𝒐𝒏 all about it. He probably ran away to his vacation home on 𝐻𝒐𝒏𝒆. A knock on one of the walls rang out, and all the aliens looked at each other for a second before the scientist finally spoke. Come in. The wall opened with his words, and Mindy's eyes exploded with the sight of the male walking into the room, anger on his face. He was probably 6'9", his skin the same signature bronze color, and his eyes the darkest shade of purple she had ever seen. He had 2 large horns that curved out and back from his black, buzz-cut hair and then shot straight up for a foot until ending at the tips, which were slightly curved forward. Her chest flooded with heat and desire as he stormed into the room. You did all this on purpose, didn't you? Just can't handle when someone tries to differ in opinion. I swear if. 𝐻𝐮's words stopped, his face changing to one of complete shock and awe as he finally looked at Mindy. Their locked stare shot electricity inside her belly, wetting her core with want. Mindy had never felt an attraction like this, and it was almost too much to handle. She wanted more than anything to jump into the muscular arms of the male with glistening skin in front of her, and she had to grip the sides of her pajama pants and bite her bottom lip to help keep control of herself. As if in a trance, 𝐻𝐮 walked slowly towards Mindy, taking her in head to toe as he went, reaching out to her face as he got close enough and pulling her lip out from between her teeth. Rubbing his finger over the slightly chewed-on area, his other fingers sneaking around her cheeks to embrace her face, Mindy felt her face flush as her core throbbed with need. What did I tell you? It's a success. The scientist's words broke the spell both 𝐻𝐮 and Mindy were under, and he quickly let go of her face and stepped back, the feel lingering on Mindy's skin. I was only studying this strange being's face. I've never seen a human up close before. Now that I have, I can tell you with confidence that I feel nothing. Mindy's heart felt a sharp pang for some reason at the sound of 𝐻𝐮's words, and she watched with slight panic as he walked out of the room. Her body wanted desperately to follow, to catch up to him, to prove that he was feeling this same, almost obsessive attractiveness towards her as she was him. She chose to stay put, unsure of where he was going, and not wanting to get lost in an alien city. Way to go, 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚𝒍𝒊𝒔𝒕. What did I do? Mindy felt confused. The heartbreak flowing through her body was just as foreign as everything else surrounding her. How could she feel such things for someone she didn't even know and could barely remember the face of? His face flashed through her mind at that thought, and she realized she had memorized it in detail. Pushing his face back down, she pressed her knees together tight, the feeling her body got from being in 𝐻𝐮's presence taking much too long to cool. Mindy knew she needed to get home, and was determined to ignore the new, addicting feelings her supposed 𝑦𝒓𝒐𝒏 gave her. He wasn't interested anyway. So, about that ride home.
Tour guide issue.
Mindy awoke to the sound of music playing, and possibly birds chirping, feeling like shit. After the drama of the day before, combined with the most confusing tour in history by a horny, hornless alien, Mindy was ready to just stay in her appointed room, considering the bed was very comfortable. The mattress felt almost gel-like, heating and shaping to any specification needed. It hovered off the ground, yet felt sturdier than any other bed Mindy had ever sat on. A small screen on the wall rang, showing strange patterns as it did. Getting up to touch the screen, Mindy found it was 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚𝒍𝒊𝒔𝒕, the scientist alien from earlier whose name was the only she could remember beside her intendeds running constantly through her brain. Hello Mindy Halton. 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚𝒍𝒊𝒔𝒕, hello. We have a day planned for you, as there are many sights to still be seen. I have planned for a different alien than 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚𝒍𝒊𝒔𝒕 to take you, as he is getting too smitten to be able to professionally handle being around you. Mindy blushed, as she knew the alien had liked her, but didn't feel anything towards him but a fondness for his kindness and patience. Okay, I was just planning to stay in the room until it was time to go back. There is no point when there is so much you can experience to pass the time quickly while you wait. 𝒂𝒐𝒏's voice was cheerfully convincing, and Mindy found herself nodding in agreement to his plans. I will have your escort come to get you shortly. You should find everything you need to get ready for the day in those drawers behind you. The wall right above the drawers, when touched, opens the bathroom pod for you. I will attempt to join you for lunch, though I am very busy with our next human prospect. Mindy said goodbye, her wall tablet hanging itself up with her words. Walking to the drawers that were flush with the wall, she touched one, prompting it to open slowly, the clothing inside glaringly white and beige colored. Pulling out a long tank top type mini dress, Mindy put it over her head, the feel like silk on her skin, the fit almost as if it was tailored to her. She looked for a pair of pants, as the tank top went only to mid-thigh, and she settled on a pair of stretchy white ones that had more pockets littering the sides than free fabric space. It's like the opposite of how they make women's pants at home. Mindy wasn't sure who she was talking to but felt better hearing her voice aloud for some reason and continued. They could make millions off these babies. Remembering there was a bathroom, Mindy pressed above the dresser, opening up the wall on the right side of it, revealing an egg-shaped shower pod that was eerily similar in dimensions to the 𝑦𝒓𝒐𝒏 machine. There was also a small, oval-top toilet, though it was much more luxurious looking than any she had seen before, with a huge bidet-type contraption that sprayed you entire down below upon flushing. Mindy felt refreshed but strange in the experience of it. Brushing her hair with the odd comb located on the sink in her bathroom pod, a knock on the door echoed through. Come in. The wall opened, and Mindy walked out, her breath catching in her throat at the sight of 𝐻𝐿's smoldering eyes. I will take you on tour today. Mindy's heart raced and groin throbbed, leaking more moisture with each second she could smell 𝐻𝐿's unnameable yet alluring scent brushing at her nose. I don't think that's a good idea. 𝒂𝒐𝒏 said you were fine with it not even 10 seconds before I arrived. Well, that was when I thought it would be another alien. 𝐻𝐿's eyes filled with an angry heat as he looked towards the front door, as if ready to attack. Which alien were you hoping for? None may take my 𝑦𝒓𝒐𝒏 but me. Mindy felt surprised at 𝐻𝐿's words, considering it had only been the day before that he had insisted he felt nothing for her. I thought you felt nothing for me. I leave for home tomorrow, you know, this. Mindy pointed between the two of them, .. is only going to make it harder on both of us I suspect, or maybe just me. You must not go. I apologize. I was wrong and have not stopped thinking of you since I saw your haunting brown eyes from across the room. Please, my 𝑦𝒓𝒐𝒏, my Mindy. I can't stay here. I have a life on Earth, a family, people that will notice I'm gone. None can love you in the way I do. It is a chemical bond, the 𝑦𝒓𝒐𝒏, one I didn't want to believe in, until looking at you and feeling its effects for myself. Mindy couldn't deny the effect 𝐻𝐿's words had on her body, on her soul. She felt something so strong for him that she couldn't even put it into words, and it scared her. I don't know much about that science stuff, but I think you were right in your initial reaction to this all. I mean, it doesn't really make sense relying on some machine to find you some mate that lives millions if not more of light years away. Please let me take you on tour, just give me a day. While Mindy wanted more than anything to spend the day with the hunk of alien in front of her, she knew better than to give in to the wants of her heart without expecting to get hurt in the process. Maybe 𝒍𝒂𝒚𝒍𝒊𝒔𝒕, or whatever his name is, could take me again too. No, he wishes to take you as a mate, and I will never allow him near you again. 𝐻𝐿's bronze face was turning a bright shade of pink as his jealousy seethed. No other male will be around you until after our 𝑦𝒓𝒐𝒏 ritual had been completed. Mindy held up her hand at the new information being casually thrown out. Wait a minute. I haven't heard anything about a ritual, and still haven't even agreed to go out with you for the day. I am still fully prepared to go back home and would appreciate if you didn't talk as if I have no decision in this. 𝐻𝐿 looked surprised and disappointed at first by her answer, but his face changed finally to one of determination. I am the strongest warrior this side of the planet, and do not give up on the things I want in life. That's good, but that doesn't mean me. It means you more than anything, as I have never wanted something as much as I crave to have you by my side, and in my bed.
Choices.
𝐻𝐿's sultry words were triggering, and Mindy's self-control broke enough for her to walk to him and reach up towards his face, standing on her tippy toes before regaining her discipline and bringing it back down. Catching her arm before it could fall, 𝐻𝐿's hand guided her back the way they had been heading, her hands finally connecting with his black stubbled cheeks. The touch of their skin was mesmerizingly electric. Mindy's hand stroked 𝐻𝐿's cheeks delicately, her eyes hazing over with lustful need. 𝐻𝐿 bent to meet her face, just inches from a kiss both of their bodies were buzzing with want for. Mindy did it, not because she thought it was a good idea, in fact she felt quite the opposite, but because the primal want to feel his lips on hers overwhelmed any other thoughts of reason. Her body was rewarded with the hungry heat of their touch, her mouth opening automatically for his forked tongue that explored both sides of her mouth, twirling around her tongue possessively at the same time, the feeling one Mindy had never felt, but was now addicted to. Oh, shit. The words she spoke were swallowed by 𝐻𝐿's hungry mouth as he took more of her breath and soul with every lick and taste. Mindy's hand started roaming from 𝐻𝐿's chiseled face to his broad muscular chest, reaching down to the bottom of his shirt and snaking her hand underneath, bringing it up to feel his hard nipples and chest, the feel of it revving her body even harder. 𝐻𝐿's lower leg suddenly snuck between Mindy's, rubbing her through her clothes and making her moan sounds she had never heard escape her lips before. A loud knock on the door had Mindy and 𝐻𝐿 pulling away, panting and wild-eyed with lust. "Whoever is at that door will never receive my forgiveness." Mindy laughed at 𝐻𝐿's frustrated words, straightening her hair and outfit before responding to the knock. "Come on in." 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚𝒍𝒊𝒔𝒕 walked in and was greeted almost immediately with 𝐻𝐿's arm to his throat as he was thrown to the wall next to the door. "You have heard my wishes regarding my UI mate, yet you cannot seem to leave her alone. I do not wish to have to bring you before the council for your actions. You did not even want her to begin with, and I think, still don't. If we had gone along with your plans, she would not even be here now. If you do not wish to be an ideal mate for Mindy, I would spend the rest of my life proving to her I can fill that role." 𝐻𝐿 growled angrily, baring his front pointed teeth. 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚 responded in like, his teeth just as sharp and menacing as he growled back. Mindy clapped loudly to the surprise of both males. "Since it's my choice, how about you both come today?" She hadn't really planned to say it, especially because she knew it was a bad idea to give 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚 false hope when he really had no chance on any planet with her. She just knew it wouldn't be her free will making the decision for her if she was left alone with 𝐻𝐿 for the day. "That is a wonderful plan." "No." Both males spoke at the same time, and Mindy put her hands on her hips as she replied. "Do I or do I not have a choice? When I think choice, I meant between being my mate or going home. Not choosing someone who is not even close to being a good UI mate for you. I would be a better mate than you ever could." Clapping them silent again, Mindy looked as stubborn as possible. "It's either that, or I stay in my room for the remainder of my short visit." Slowly releasing his arm's grip on 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚's throat, 𝐻𝐿's face turned to disappointed submission. "Fine, but you must stand on my right, with 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚 on my left. You will let her decide. I'll walk behind you too, how about that?" "Unacceptable, considering I am guard trained for the council. I know more than anyone that you cannot guard someone that walks behind in an effective manner. You must walk in front." Mindy laughed. "I have no idea where I'm going. I thought you were my tour guides. I'll just walk between then, that'll be the first rule." Both males glared each other down before focusing their attention on Mindy once again. "Most important rule is no touching me, unless it is a life or death situation, and you are pulling me out of harm's way." Both males crossed their right arms over their chests, slightly bowing their heads to signal their agreements to her rules. "Sweet, let's go. Maybe we can head somewhere for food first. I am starving and saw someone eating some kind of funnel cake looking thingy on the walk here yesterday that smelled to die for." With that, they headed out the door, Mindy in the middle, surrounded on either side by physically alluring, bronze aliens shooting death stares at one another. It went as well as one would expect with a possessive, jealous male that thinks a human is already theirs, and a desperate for attention male that egged on the other. Mindy was exhausted at the day's end, forcing both to go home after watching her walk into her quarters. While it had been exhausting to hear the two bickering and having to mediate, Mindy knew she was feeling something undeniably strong towards 𝐻𝐿. While slightly aggressive, he could also be endearingly sweet. Her mind flashed to their passion-filled kiss, imagining his possessive tongue taking claim to other parts of her body. The thought brought twitches to her clit, and she cupped herself without thinking in reaction. She needed a hot shower and a change. She did all she could to ignore her throbbing core as she attempted to clean her body, the image of 𝐻𝐿, and the imprint his skin had had on her, making it almost impossible to complete the task. Just as she almost gave in to her needs, the door let out a loud knock. "Who is it?" "It is 𝐻𝐿. I am here. I know you feel the want as I do, and you must help me to satiate it just as much as I must help you." Mindy felt the twist and turn in her belly as he spoke the words, and she knew there was no way she was going to be able to resist. With how horny she was in that moment, and the fact that he was admitting to feeling the same hunger she was, her last strand of control snapped. Wet, dripping, and naked, Mindy opens the pod door. 𝐻𝐿's face transformed from an initial surprised face to a look of pure feral longing, his eyes hazed over as he threw off his shirt quickly and attacked Mindy's lips.
Tentacle.
His maddening, overly addicting tongue once again licked and teased every corner of her mouth, wrapping over her tongue seductively. It sent powerful shots of electric heat straight to her wet and pulsing core. His large, muscular hands explored Mindy's wet, naked body, his touches leaving behind tingles in their wake. His moans as he possessed her mouth echoed into it, his hot breath mingling with hers as their teeth scraped and mouths bruised with the severity of their kiss. 𝐻𝐿 spun himself and Mindy around, mouth still attached, forcing her back 2 steps and to the right so that she fell perfectly to sit on the side edge of the bed. Their kiss broke finally. Mindy attempted to scoot up the bed, with 𝐻𝐿 grabbing at her hips and pulling her butt back down to the edge, this time with her leaning back on her elbows as she caught on to what he was about to do to her. Resting her legs over his broad muscular shoulder, 𝐻𝐿 bent in close, with Mindy blushing at how exposed she felt as he stared far longer than anyone had ever looked before. "You look delicious, my UI, my Mindy. I have thought of nothing else but how you must taste when wet from the need to be mated." 𝐻𝐿's tongues popped out for their taste. Mindy thought of the appendages as two entities, considering that's how they felt, as if she was being ravaged by two expert tongues at the same time. 𝐻𝐿's nose burrowed into the small hair patch above Mindy's mound as his tongues assaulted her fold and core simultaneously, the hot, wet feel of his tentacle-like tongues making her buck at the feel. One of his tongues snaked up her middle, running expertly over her bundle of nerves, the other circling her clit once before licking up and down on it vigorously. A rhythm that was being matched by the other snaked in her core, lapping everything she was giving. Holy, Mindy couldn't talk, as 𝐻𝐿's right hand left its position holding her hips in place to travel to her chest, squeezing on her nipples back and forth, focusing all his fingers' attention until they were rock-hard pebbles of sensitivity. She wasn't sure what started the longest orgasm of her life, but nipple play, 𝐻𝐿's nose rubbing hard right above her groin, and the tentacle tongues so expertly playing with her insides and bud were the main contenders. Her orgasm shook her body as the pleasure shot through her limbs straight to her toes, a numbing, blissful heat of indulgence that took her breath away. Thrusting on his face, Mindy rode it for as long as she could, her body finally going lax with content. 𝐻𝐿 wiped his smiling face and stood, the tent in his tight pants causing stirrings to start once again in Mindy's belly at the thought of something so large filling her up. "I think you should go." Mindy felt just as much disappointment in her words as 𝐻𝐿's face showed he did. She hated that she had to send him away, but knew she needed time to think for herself about everything that was running through her mind. Especially now. She also didn't know if she was ready to go that far with him yet, even if her body seemed to think it was. "The ship will be ready to depart tomorrow evening." His words sounded defeated, and Mindy wanted to hug him, reassure him. But she knew she couldn't, as she didn't want to make promises she couldn't keep. She still wasn't sure what she was doing yet. Saying nothing else, 𝐻𝐿 left the room, the door closing ominously behind him. Mindy wasn't sure why she felt so sad, considering it was her choice, and she could stay if she wanted. She couldn't deny that she had roommates depending on her slightly for things, and family that would miss her a lot, but it didn't stop her heart from trying to convince her more every minute that she belonged there. In that moment, with 𝐻𝐿 by her side, crying, Mindy dressed in a comfortable pajama set and went to bed, the inevitable decision of the next day hanging over her as she restlessly slept.
It's decided.
The next day's sun peeked in through the curtains much faster than Mindy had hoped, and her sense of dread was even stronger as she attempted to focus on getting dressed. They were to have a meeting after breakfast this morning, and she was to make her decision known then. The thought made her feel ill, and she knew there would be no need for breakfast this morning, even with the amazing food array they had in the food hall for every meal of the day. She had decided she was going to go home. Then she had decided the opposite. Now she was once again leaning towards home, as she thought of her responsibilities and expectations from her roommates and work. She had a whole life, and while she didn't have a person even close to as appealing as 𝐻𝐿 in it, Mindy couldn't help thinking back on all her mother's personal experience with all the many terrible men that seemed great. At first, she wasn't sure if she should put love first in making such a momentous a life decision. Growing up, Mindy's mother had relied on love to solve all her problems, and all she had gotten in exchange for love was more problems. Some that dragged Mindy right into the middle of them. Like the time one of her ex-stepdads had an obsession with Mindy and tried to kidnap her in the middle of the night after her mother found secret pictures of her in his wallet and kicked him out. Thank goodness he got pulled over and caught, or who knows what would have happened. Mindy had moved out as soon as she could from home, but was still an integral part of her mother's life, considering her love life hadn't changed, if anything had gotten worse. Mindy was always there to help pick up the pieces when a boyfriend either dumped or got dumped, and the baggage that more times than not came with them. Mindy didn't know anything else and didn't know another way to help. She knew she would never get her to stop, considering even when Mindy had almost gotten kidnapped, her mother had a new boyfriend within the next week. The thoughts of her mom's most recent gym rat boyfriend flashed through Mindy's head, and she knew that was one thing that really made it hard to even imagine leaving Earth. There was also her friend and roommate Ginny, who was having a hard time as it was paying her mortgage and finding someone that wasn't sketchy to rent the now 6 months empty extra room in her house. Moving out, taking away that income for her, would be devastating. A knock on the door of her room brought her back to the present. "Come in." Mindy felt surprised to see 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚 come in without 𝐻𝐿 on his heels, considering how he felt about her being alone with him. "I hear you will still leave today. 𝐻𝐿 has left for his vacation home, knowing you will leave. I do not give up so easily, and am hoping I can somehow still convince you to stay." Mindy was disappointed hearing 𝐻𝐿 had assumed her decision before she had made it, and then was upset even more knowing he was right to have thought that, since that was literally the last decision that had been planting in her mind. She wanted to see 𝐻𝐿 so badly but didn't at the same time. She felt a mess inside and out. I think you will make someone an amazing UI mate one day, but I am not that one. I'm sorry, 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚. Knowing you have someone out there that is destined to be your true UI mate makes it an even bigger no. While everyone has a destined UI mate, until this machine, most never found them. It is not something that is likely, even with our new technology, to even happen to me. I will accept your decision, though, as I can see you do not feel for me the way you do 𝐻𝐿. If you should change our mind, I will always be here for you. Thank you, 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚. Hugging the large, slightly sweaty alien, Mindy wondered what 𝐻𝐿 was doing in that moment, if he was thinking of her like she was him. 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚 kept his arm around Mindy's shoulders as he guided her out of her room into the hall. Pushing off the heavy weight, Mindy just shook her head at 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚 in a boy, I said no type of way, with him shrugging a hey, I tried in response. Mindy, 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚. The scientist, 𝐻𝒐𝒏, greeted them excitedly as they walked towards a room Mindy had not been in yet in the large hotel-like building that she, and many thousands of others, stayed in. She didn't understand the technology exactly, just knew everything on the inside was bigger than the way the building outside looked. Pretending everything was magic made it much easier for Mindy to process and accept things, so she just left it at magic and moved on. Come in, please, we have been waiting. Walking into the opened room, Mindy nodded in greeting to the 4 other aliens who sat at the table, the others she had met on the ship, including the one who had come into her room. He stood first, his familiar horns making it easier for her to remember him. Mindy Halton, I am 𝒍𝒂𝒚, first contact. It is very good to set eyes on you again. I heard you UI mated with none other than 𝒍𝒂𝒚 𝒍𝒂𝒚. I am sorry for your misfortune. Mindy felt embarrassed, as it hit her in that moment that everyone, millions of their people, knew of her and her bungled UI mating. 𝒍𝒂𝒚 continued as Mindy sat in the chair that was most likely intended for her as it was dramatically smaller than the rest. We have a new human UI DNA match. We are going to bring them back after taking you home to Earth, if you still wish it. If you do not wish it, then I am sure 𝐻𝒿 would be happy to hear it, as I know him better than most. 𝐻𝒿 is nestled in his vacation home. 𝒍𝒂𝒚 sounded angry as he spoke, and his words cut into Mindy's heart. She realized that 𝒍𝒂𝒚 was right, 𝐻𝒿 wasn't even there, had already accepted her leaving. So why couldn't she? Looking up, she startled, realizing 𝒍𝒂𝒚 had been studying her face as she thought. If you are still unsure, maybe you wish to make this trip, and then decide. If you choose to stay, we will pick up our newest UI mate prospect, and drop you off. If you choose to come back here, you can help the newest human acclimate to life, and maybe that could even be a job for you while you live here, should you decide. Mindy fake smiled, pushing away all thoughts of 𝐻𝒿, nodding. I guess I'm heading back to Earth.
Table turns.
Waking from her warm, goo bath, Mindy felt groggy, though she noticed it cleared much faster than before, and she headed to the showers to change and watch the rest of the trip to the Earth. As she walked out freshly clothed and showered, Mindy took in the Earth from afar, surprised at how much space garbage there was floating around it, something you never saw in photos. I do feel bad for this planet, as it dies slowly and painfully with its poor treatment. 𝒍𝒂𝒚 spoke as he appeared behind her. Mindy couldn't help but feel slightly guilty, knowing that not enough humans cared about the Earth and helping it last a long time. Quickly they sped downwards through the ozone layer, shooting almost rocket speed to the ground that eventually went from a blob to the outline of the house she stayed in. Maybe we should pick up the other human first, before I leave. Mindy wasn't ready yet, even though the thought that 𝐻𝒿 had given up already on her, very easily, ran through her head at full speed. For a moment, she felt a rush of heat in her groin, and couldn't believe just thinking of him was affecting her this way now. That is what we are doing. The human we have been led to surprisingly lives here as well. Mindy was shocked as she transported through the portal in front of her straight into her bedroom. She looked incredulously at the 2 aliens that she still couldn't name that had joined her in her room. Ginny, yes, Ginny McIntyre, holy shit. As if she had heard her name, Mindy's roommate and friend Ginny walked in, shocking the aliens with her on-average human look. She was dressed in cosplay, a long, pink wig and short cleavage-enhancing dress with poofy leggings, thick black shoes completing the ensemble. Oh my god, Mindy, where the hell have you ... who the hell? She finally noticed the open-mouthed aliens that loomed in the corner of the room, their ultra-tanned skin glistening in the lights of the ship beaming through the windows. Racing over to hide behind Mindy, Ginny gasped as she took them in. Of all the hot, muscular, horned gods. Mindy, am I dreaming? It's because your mom and I were freaking out about your disappearance right before I fell asleep, isn't it? This is all some weird, lucid dream. No, believe me, it's not. These are aliens from the very futuristic planet of New Lamore, and they've built a machine of sorts that finds people who are the perfect ... what they call UI mates for other aliens on their planet. They have somehow concluded that you and I are prime candidates. Okay, not to change the subject, but did you know your work called you a total of 37 times between yesterday and today? Pretty sure you lost that job. Focusing back on the aliens, Ginny visibly shivered. They aren't going to hurt us, are they? They look very menacing. Didn't really have access to a phone when I was being dragged millions of light years from here for days, honestly. Good riddance anyway, I hated dealing with Karens anyway. Gesturing towards the corner, Mindy continued, they're safe, in fact they practically worship the ground we walk on as we are the first to be matched as UI mates for our race. So, you're saying a machine that detects mates somehow detected that you and I, out of a whole planet of humans, were ideal candidates for all these hot, horny alien males on the planet NUMORE ... or whatever. Well, I think only one. It can be multiple, and it's called NULAMORE. One of the aliens in the back spoke up, finally including themselves in the conversation. Okay, wow, learn something new every day. So, I guess some get multiple. But I have been matched with one male. He's named 𝐻𝐮𝐫, and let me tell you, he is too hot to handle, and not interested. Hotter than these two. Ginny finally removed her pink wig, to the repeated shocked faces of the aliens in the corner, revealing her auburn pixie cut underneath, running her fingers through her flattened hair. This is like one of those hot alien romance books my mom likes to read, where they come to Earth to impregnate us with their babies. Yeah, that's exactly what this is. Mindy studied Ginny's face, unsure how to read the mixture of emotions as she processed everything. Finally, she crossed her arms and smiled at the aliens in front of her. Cool. I'm on board, I'm losing the house anyway, only been stressing so hard to keep it since you depended on me for your own place. I could never let you go back to your mother's. Since you're coming with me, I'm all for a little alien world field trip. I've been looking for an excuse to start fresh again. Mindy's heart dropped at the mention of her mother. She was at first surprised with how cool Ginny was taking everything, but then remembered she was an anime fan. She had probably dreamed of some type of scenario like this happening all her life. This just made things harder, as she had been pretty sure she was staying on Earth, and now didn't have a place. She could never live with her mother, and she had no job. You said you and my mom were freaking out, is she okay? I should call her. Yeah, she's in Vegas cause her boyfriend had a poker convention there. I tried to get her to stay, considering you were missing, and I wanted to form a search party, put up flyers, or something, but her boyfriend convinced her that she should go with him to support him, so off she went. We did, however, speak late into the night, and she wanted me to contact her with any word of your whereabouts. Mindy felt kind of hurt that her mother had no clues if she was even alive and didn't care enough to stay and search for her, especially since she had been missing over 2 days and they normally talked daily, multiple times a day. Pulling out a phone from between her chest, Ginny handed it to Mindy. At least call her before we go. The phone was already ringing, and Mindy put it quickly up to her ear just in time to hear her mother's tired, worried voice over the phone. Ginny, did you find her? I'm worried sick. It's me, Mom. Mindy. Her mother's sobs rang from the phone, with Ginny rolling her eyes as she heard. How could you disappear like that on me? You know I rely on you so much. Why didn't you stay to look for me then? I mean, I know I should have called, but what if I had really been kidnapped or something, which, I guess, I initially was. You didn't do anything to try to find me. Honey, you are obviously fine, and I spent hours talking with Ginny to think of solutions. I mean I had to wait a while before I could even report you as a missing person. You are an adult after all. Benny knew you would be all right. Fuck Benny, Mom. He's a douche, even more than others, and I wish, for once, you would worry about me and put me first. You are so reactive today. You know I worry about you constantly. I wouldn't be so exhausted right now if I hadn't thought all night on where you could be. Yet, you couldn't be bothered to look for me. Where is all this coming from, Mindy? You know I need you on my team. I rely on you so much. Please stop saying that. It's true though, honey. I mean I kept wondering what I would do if I never saw you again, and then, God forbid, Benny could leave me too. Then I would be alone. You know I mentally can't deal with that. Not after everything that you have personally witnessed happen to me. Mindy stood in silence as her mother's fake cry echoed once again through the phone. It was the first time she felt truly alone. She had always known how her mother viewed her, but hearing it from her mouth was the icing on the cake. Hanging up, she handed the phone back to Ginny, signaling to silence any future calls, with Ginny nodding. Now that nothing held her back, Mindy could go back. If only 𝐻𝐮𝐫 wanted her. She felt a tear fall down her cheek as a portal opened once again in the small of her room, the bronze male stepping out, making Mindy cry out in a whole different way. 𝐻𝐮.
Reunited.
My mate. 𝐻𝐮 rushed out of the portal with 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚 on his heels, looking angrier than Mindy had ever seen. How in the 7 hells of Greta did you even get on the ship, 𝐻𝐮? You were forbidden on this journey. Interrupting the face kisses he was littering Mindy's tear-stained face with, 𝐻𝐮 lifted his face to growl in return. I told you to stay away from my UI mate, yet here you are again, traveling off-world with her. I am appointed to this crew and ship, no matter what race we have aboard. Your mate and I have already spoken on this matter, and we have agreed it would not work between us. 𝐻𝐮 growled at the words, his tongues ravaging Mindy on every inch of skin he could in a lust-filled frenzy. Maybe we should leave those two alone for a minute. Is it just through here then? Ginny's words brought 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚's attention to her, and his eyes swooned. Holding one hand to his chest, 𝑑𝒍𝒂𝒚 held out his other as an offering that Ginny all too willingly took, immersing herself from the get-go in the whole alien abduction experience, and following him into the bright portal, a skip in her step. The other aliens glanced over at Mindy and 𝐻𝐿 as they fell onto the bed, tight in embrace, and they both hurriedly headed for the portal, with one speaking out as they went. "Just call when you're ready." The portal closed behind the last aliens, leaving 𝐻𝐿 and Mindy alone, though they had stopped noticing the world around them before that point, their love grabbing all the attention. Mindy panted as she kissed and talked at 𝐻𝐿's neck and chest, prompting him to remove his tank top and pants in no time flat. "How could you leave me?" 𝐻𝐿, naked and glistening in the glow of the ship's lights, tugged at Mindy's clothes, helping shuck them off as he replied, "Just because you couldn't see me doesn't mean I left. I was trying to give you space. I have been in love with you since I first laid eyes on you, and there's no way you were coming back here without your UI mate to protect you. I can never be away from you." Mindy felt her heart mend, accepting the male's words and actions in front of her as what love really represented. Putting the other first, never leaving their side, no matter where they go in life. I think I love you, 𝐻𝐿. I love you more, my unexpected UI mate." Mindy and 𝐻𝐿 kissed a kiss of promise, of commitment, as they held tight to one another's exposed skin, nothing keeping them apart anymore. Mindy's body swirled with desire as her belly felt the press of 𝐻𝐿's hard-leaking cock, and she reached down as they kissed to grab the base of it, pulling her hand and face away in shock after she did. "Oh, shit. What are those?" Pulling away from their embrace, she took in 𝐻𝐿's enormous, bronzed size. The head was sheathed, uncut, and bulbous. At the base, where she had grabbed, 1 inch underneath and above the base of the shaft, were 2 separate, 2 inches high, hard nubs. "These are the pleasure cruxes. Do human males not have those? No. That is sad, as they bring and give much more pleasure than just the cock alone can provide. It is not sad that I will now get to show you how they work. I have dreamed of pleasuring you, of seeing your face when I am claiming you as my UI mate, every minute of every day." 𝐻𝐿 thrusted his hips forward, his leaking cock throbbing with need at his own words. "May I taste you, my Mindy, my mate?" "Fuck yes." Running against Mindy's stomach a few more times, 𝐻𝐿 proceeded to scale down Mindy's body, his long tongues trailing every inch of skin they could as he went. "First, your pleasure. Then, both our pleasure. Then, after our UI mate ceremony, I will taste you again. You may get tired after all that." Mindy chuckled, her skin getting goosebumps as 𝐻𝐿's face and tongues finally reached her quivering folds. Pulling away to her moan of disappointment, 𝐻𝐿 smiled. "I will never tire of this taste. It is something I will want more than any food in my belly or item of material wealth. I will want this, you, until the end of our days." With that, his tongues flicked out once again at her mound, his nose burying in her hair patch right above as he invaded her core with a long, slippery tongue. Arching with pleasure and grabbing 𝐻𝐿's head in her hands, Mindy savored his tongues as they massaged her clit and insides with skill beyond anything she had ever felt. Her pleasure was building hard and fast in her belly, and she feared she might explode much too soon for her liking. "Wait, slow down, you're gonna make me ugh." Taking her words as an invitation rather than deterrent, 𝐻𝐿 attacked with more earnest, his face almost becoming one with her pussy as he ate and licked her from top to bottom, his hand roaming onto her chest and nipples, setting fire to her chest as she finally gave in to the sensitive indulgence. Running into 𝐻𝐿's face as she came, Mindy screamed in ecstasy, her orgasm one for the record books, as it seemed forever before it finally grinding to a halt. The last drops of pleasure and wetness being licked clean by 𝐻𝐿's rough, seductive, tentacle tongues. "Holy shit, 𝐻𝐿, those tongues. You think they are pleasurable? Wait until you feel my cruxes as they vibrate with pleasure." They vibrate. Looking down again at his harder than concrete cock, Mindy studied the little nubs on either side of it with renewed fascination. "Why look when I can show?" With that, 𝐻𝐿 jumped up from between Mindy's legs to her chest area, his muscle mass squishing her into the bed as he rutted into her belly and kissed her wildly, his tongues invading and salty with the taste of her still lingering. "May I claim you before our ceremony, my UI mate?"
New beginnings.
Mindy let her body answer the question, wrapping her legs around his middle and rubbing her sopping folds onto the top of his shaft, pulling him as close as possible to her. It didn't take long for him to line himself up outside of her core, the look on his face as he slowly broke through her tight wetness shot waves of lust into Mindy's belly, churning it around and then spitting it out throughout the rest of her, resulting in a full body buzz of desire. He was thick, and she felt fuller than she could have imagined as he thrust into her deeper and deeper, the cruxes next to his cock starting their vibrating dance as they slightly moved and shook with 𝐻𝐿's growing excitement. Mindy gasped at the feeling as he thrust the rest of himself inside, one crux poking and vibrating her clit, and one doing the same near her pucker, a feeling that was new, but overwhelmingly pleasurable. Mindy felt the nub penetrate her back hole, and the feeling of being filled all around with vibrating alien genitals was indescribable. Riding him from underneath, with 𝐻𝐿's moans and roaming hands egging her on, Mindy came in no time. The stimulation deliciously took over her senses, shooting the built-up electricity from her belly to her groin and limbs, the release even more intense than the last one, the pleasure making her toes curl. As she came, so did 𝐻𝐿, his seed shooting rope after hot rope inside her as he shouted her name. Pulling out from her, she felt empty, his cum tickling her as it dripped out of her and down her taint onto the bedspread below. He snuggled up to her, practically lying on top of her. That was amazing. I told you, the cruxes are very pleasurable. Yeah, I could never have imagined that. They both laughed as they cuddled together on Mindy's small twin bed. So, my UI mate, will we stay here together, or go back to New Lemoore? I will do whatever you wish, as long as you are always by my side. Mindy smiled, massaging the top of 𝐻𝐿's head as he moaned in appreciation. I think I want to go back to your planet. As long as I can still come back to visit, that is. I need to make sure my mom is going to be okay, but also distance myself from her at the same time. I know 𝒂𝒐𝒏 had offered me a job to travel to Earth with each new UI mate prospect, as an ambassador of sorts. If I took him up on that offer, I feel like everything could work out, for everyone. I do not like you traveling so often and so far without me. I am assigned to the guard of the Council of Four. As such, I should not have even left the planet at all. I will not be able to work if I know 𝒍𝒂𝒚 or any other male is with you, alone, without me to protect you. How often do they have these expeditions? I know nothing about them, as I had been one of the few that had been pushing to stop the UI mate machine from being used, not believing the power behind it. Until experiencing it myself, of course. Well, we can see how it goes. Snuggling and kissing a little more, Mindy signaled for 𝐻𝐿 to get up, as her legs were falling asleep under his crushing weight. We should probably head back to the ship. I can't even imagine the things Ginny is asking, as she is very bold-mouthed. They both dressed and 𝐻𝐿 called for a portal, which appeared in no time. Grabbing as many things as she could carry, Mindy stuffed everything that she wanted to bring back with her into a pillowcase. Clasping their hands tightly and smiling, they walked through the portal, into their new future, together.
And?
There you are. We were just about ready to send a search party. You better have got some considering the amount of time you took. I already toured the entire ship, which is cool, but small. OMG Ginny, really? What'd I say? Laughing, Mindy eyed Ginny and 𝒍𝒂𝒚 suspiciously as she was sitting straight on his lap. What is going on here? She is my mate. You do not know if she is indeed your UI mate. I care not. That's what you said about the last human. The last human. I'm right here. It is different. What I felt for Mindy is nothing like what I feel now. My chest is burning with desire just upon looking at the sweet face of my mate. Whoa, down boy, I feel you poking me right in the back. Mindy, they all this well endowed. Pretty sure I'm feeling a python poking me right now. Mindy slapped her forehead, not even giving her a response to her brash words. You should wait to do anything until you at least hear the outcome of the UI mate machine. It matters not. She is my mate. Hey, I can share. What's better than a UI mate? 2. Waggling her eyebrows, 𝒍𝒂𝒚 looked slightly shocked, but shut his mouth, as if contemplating the thought. You are just insane, Ginny. I'm your one and only friend, so who's really the insane one here? Still you. See, this is why I was willing to search to the end of the earth to find you, Mindy. You and I are like two peas in a pod. One of the aliens Mindy still guiltily didn't remember the name of, walked into the room. We need to immerse in the KIP machines now. We cannot burn too much energy before taking back off. Hopefully nothing malfunctions, considering 𝐻𝐿 used one of the backup tubs to sneak over here. 𝒍𝒂𝒚's voice was full of accusation and frustration. It's good to live on the edge sometimes, hot pants. Ginny slapped 𝒍𝒂𝒚's behind as she spoke the words, making him blush and smile at her, before following her puppy style towards the KIP machine room, all other thoughts forgotten. Oh, he's a goner for sure. Mindy laughed as she kissed 𝐻𝐿 and left him in the backup pod room. As she fell into her deep sleep, she knew she finally was living life for her, putting her needs and wants before her mother's or anyone else's, and it felt better than she could have ever imagined. It has been decided. UI mates in question are 𝒍𝒂𝒚 𝒍𝒊𝒂𝒚 and 𝐻𝐿 𝒂𝒚. The aliens in the room, and Mindy, gasped as the machine read off Ginny's 2 UI mates. Fuck yeah. Ginny was excited, hugging 𝒍𝒂𝒚, who had not left her side since they had arrived the day before back on the planet. I suspect your other mate will be en route shortly. Ginny ran over to hug Mindy, both of them jumping slightly in excitement for her. I'm so happy for you, Ginny. I think I might have manifested this ... haha. So glad I did. Your mate is arriving. As Ginny and 𝒍𝒂𝒚 ran out to greet their newest mate, Mindy walked over to 𝐻𝐿, holding his hand and giving him a quick kiss. I can't believe that a few months ago I was serving people Taco Bell and wondering how long it would be before I had to help my mom once again pick up the broken pieces of her next failed relationship. Now I have you, 𝐻𝐿. I would probably have never experienced real love if it hadn't been for you. I love you more than anything. I love you with all my heart and soul, my mate. My Mindy. Holding their bodies tightly together and staring into each other's eyes, they didn't notice 𝒂𝒐𝒏 until he was right next to them, his words causing them to jump slightly. So, now we must have the UI mate ceremony. After we have had 2 successful matings, I can go before the council for permission to continue this project, which I think everyone can now say is beneficial to our planet and its people. You speak only truths, 𝒂𝒐𝒏. It is good to hear you say so, 𝐻𝐿. Mindy felt excited as she imagined the ceremony and what she would most likely be doing right after. 𝐻𝐿, as if sensing her thoughts, snaked his arm around her middle, pulling her close and whispering to her a deep, seductive tone. "I must taste you again, I cannot wait for the ceremony. Okay." Laughing, Mindy raced off towards her room, with 𝐻𝐿 on her heels. Her heart had never felt surer about a decision than it did in that moment about staying, and Mindy knew she was ready to spend the rest of her days exploring her new home, with her love, 𝐻𝐿, by her side.
The end.